It's drama upon drama. River State is in the news again. Not for the Thanksgiving, or not just for the Thanksgiving that was held yesterday in celebration of Siminalayi Fubara's time in office, but because the court has banned or barred the CBN for from giving federal allocations to the state. There have been reactions about this, and we'll talk about this in our top stories and much later when we look at what Nigerians are saying on social media. I'm Olive Emodi, and I welcome you to the show.
And I am Osaogi Ogbonwam. Yes, River State is a major conversation across Nigeria this morning, just like Olive has mentioned, because of a new court ruling that has barred, funding for the state's budget. And of course, if you remember, just a few weeks ago, there was a court ruling asking that those who had been removed as lawmakers in River State be reinstated, and that the 2024 budget be re-presented to them in October, which is, 10 months into the year, which, a lot of Nigerians obviously reacted to. But now there's a new court ruling that has, once again, created even more controversy, asking that, of course, funding for River State budgeting and to run the River State government be suspended in the interim. There have been many reactions. I saw Ikenga Ogochinyere react to it, and of course,
he did a 5-minute long video,
yes, where he explained, his own perspective, which clearly stated that it is unusual for a court ruling to be given while there are pending appeals going on the same matter, which definitely makes some sense. I also saw Chidi Odinkalu point out that in 2000. Is it 1999 or 2000? I don't remember, when the allocations were stopped from the Obasanjo government to Lagos State. Back then, there was a Supreme Court ruling that ruled against it, and said that it is not legal for allocations to local government to be stopped for the running of Lagos State back then by the Obasanjo government. But what we are seeing in 2024 is that under President Tinubu, who of course gained court victory back then during his time as governor, we are seeing a court now preventing funding for a state, to be run because of course, the different intricacies.
Maybe the arguments that some would bring against that would be the fact that in that time it was the presidency, that outrightly and overtly said that they were not going to pay the allocations to local government councils. But in this case, it's not directly the presidency, it's the court. But then the court, many have also said that the courts and the presidency have been a key instrument in ensuring that things don't return to a peaceful state in River State, because, the president hasn't spoken up very strongly in this matter. He hasn't stepped in the way that he should. Many have asked why he hasn't yet reined his employee in this case, Binye Sumwike, who has fought very strongly to maintain what he refers to as the structure in the state. There's also the criticism leveled against Siminalayi Fubara that, yes, we understand they are trying to fight for the sanity of the state, or trying to ensure that things return to the way that they should be. However, he who comes to equity must come with clean hands. Your hands aren't also clean. You two have also played dirty politics, to ensure that you are where you are. But you would see that a number of people are still throwing their support behind Governor Siminalayi Fubara. River State, interestingly, has been doing very well. The 2024 fiscal accountability report by budget, River State was #1 on the list, and that's great news for them. Some would say that they're not going to be crippled. I mean, yesterday he did a Thanksgiving service in Port Harcourt, and at the Thanksgiving service, he could not even be bothered by the fact that the federal government may no longer be giving them allocation. He was already saying to them, those of you who are yet to be paid, you will get your alerts by tomorrow. He talked about all the efforts that the past government has made to cripple his government, the resignation of the commissioners, all the hopes that he will stay for just 1 week in office, but at the end of the day, he said, look at how long he stayed, and, talked about all the projects that he's been working on and he will continue to work on. So it's really not, it's every day it's an unfolding drama.
Yeah, it's been a very tough past year, plus in River State, with all the controversy, but what we can clearly see here is political interest being mixed with, the judiciary, that seems to be getting involved, with all the political interest, in River State. So it's a complete mess. It's also important to mention, that the Senate will be confirming has confirmed the new ministerial appointees, those who are going to be replacing those who were sacked, and of course, those who are moving from one ministry to the other. And we still aren't clear on why, those people were sacked, and I think it's, like I said, earlier in the week, that it's important that we are aware why they were fired or why they weren't able to do their jobs, which led to them being fired.
To prevent a repeat.
To prevent a repeat, you know, because
Exactly.
if, Professor Tahir Maman had reasons or factors, that stopped him from being an effective education minister, if Jamila Bio Ibrahim, if Uju Kennedy Ohane had issues that stopped her from preventing a good women affairs, minister, then what stops, how are we sure that the new appointees wouldn't encounter the same issues?
Right.
That lack of clarity, is not going to help us. But anyway, let's quickly bring you breakfast headlines and, of course, get on with our top stories this morning on Breakfast Central. Now let's begin breakfast headlines in West Africa, Nigeria, where President Bola Tinubu has appointed Major General Olufemi Olatubosun Oluyede as the new acting chief of our army staff. In a statement on Wednesday by the presidential spokesman, Bayo Ononuga, Oluyede will hold sway as the chief of army staff pending the return of Lieutenant General Taurid Abiodun Lagbaja, who is said to be indisposed and receiving treatment abroad. And also, the Senate has screened and confirmed the 7 newly nominated ministers. The nominees are Dr. Nentawe Iwata as Minister of Humanitarian Affairs and Poverty Reduction, Mohamed Dinyadi as the Minister of Labor and Employment, Bianca Odumego Ojukwu as Minister of State, Foreign Affairs, and Dr. Jumoke Oduwole as the Minister of Industry, Trade and Development. Others are Idi Mukhtar Meha as the Minister of Livestock Development, Right Honorable Yusuf Atta as the Minister of State for Housing, and Dr. Suweiba Said Ahmed as the Minister of State for Education. Still in the news, Justice Emeka Nwite of the Federal High Court, Abuja, has adjourned the hearing in the alleged money laundering case brought against the immediate past governor of Kogi State, Yahaya Bello, by the Economic and Financial Crimes Commission, EFCC, to January 21st, 2025. At the resumed hearing on Wednesday, counsel to EFCC, Kemi Pinheiro, told the court that he had 2 witnesses already in court. He said his first application was to formally apply that the court should enter a plea of not guilty on behalf of Bello, even in his absence, as it was in full compliance with Section 276 of the Administration of Criminal Justice Act. A Kuje Magistrate Court has granted bail to a House of Representatives member for Aba North and South, Alex Ikweche, in the sum of 500,000 naira and 2 sureties in like sum. In a brief ruling, the presiding judge, Abubakar Said, said the sureties must reside within the court's jurisdiction and provide utility bills as proof of evidence. The charges brought against him include abuse of office, assault, and threat to life. He pleaded not guilty when it was read to him. His counsel thereafter made an oral application for bail, which was granted by the court. The case has been adjourned to November 8, 2024. Ikweche was arraigned for allegedly assaulting an e-hailing cab driver in the FCT. Now, still in West Africa, medical charity MSF on Wednesday said it had suspended its activities in central Malian town of Nampala following an attack on its staff and health workers in the area plagued by violence. Mali has for more than a decade been ravaged by jihadists and other armed groups, with the center of the West African country becoming a hotbed of violence since 2015. The Malian army and the Russian paramilitary group have for months undertaken operations against armed jihadist groups in the area, including the al-Qaeda-linked Katiba Masina. And also in the news, trade unions in Mali have suspended a strike planned by prison staff, initially set to begin on Tuesday, as they push for information on the whereabouts of 2 missing union members. The Judiciary Workers Union announced the suspension after Justice Minister Muhammadu Kasugi promised increased efforts to secure the safe return of their 2 colleagues to their families. And that's all on Breakfast Headlines. Let's move now back to Breakfast Central and get into our top stories. I am Osaogie Ogbonwa.
A federal high court in Abuja has barred the Central Bank of Nigeria, CBN, from disbursing monthly allocations to the Rivers State government, citing constitutional violations by Governor Siminalayi Fubara. The court found that Fubara's presentation of the 2024 budget to a four-member House of Assembly breached constitutional protocol, rendering the budget illegitimate since January.
Now, Justice Joyce Abdul Malik declared that decisions made by the four-member Fubara-backed assembly were void, referencing prior rulings by the Federal High Court and the Court of Appeal. The judge emphasized the CBN's responsibility to ensure state budgets are approved by a constitutionally recognized House of Assembly before releasing funds. Now, joining us is the former chairman, Degema Local Government Area, Rivers State, a legal practitioner and a public affairs analyst, Sogbe Eli. Good morning and thanks for joining us.
It's my pleasure to be here. Thank you very much.
Good to have you.
We're also joined this morning by the Publicity Secretary, Rivers State Caretaker Committee, Chibike Ikenga. Good morning. Thank you very much for joining us.
Good morning. Thank you for having me.
All right, I think we'll start off the conversation, gentlemen, by looking at the court's decision. And, this decision follows a suit filed by the Rivers House of Assembly faction led by Martin Amewule, challenging the legitimacy of the four-member faction loyal to Fubara. And I'll begin with you, Mr. Ikenga. Your thoughts regarding, this court's decision to bar CBN from paying federal allocation to Rivers State going forward?
Okay, thank you. I think that the decision yesterday is a consequential judgment, to drive home the point that when court decisions are made, when court judgments are made, that we as citizens or organizations and institutions of government are bound to obeying them. Chronologically, you'd recall that Justice Omotosho had, in the judgment he gave, directed that the only legally recognized House of Assembly is the one led by Martin Samedi, and that the budget or the appropriation bill must be presented to that house, and that any other house, quote and unquote, like the one created by River State government, a three-man committee, are not known to law. The government of River State refused to obey that judgment. That matter, again, about the judgment, the Court of Appeal voided that so-called budget that was presented to the three-man committee under Okojumbo, and went further to directing the governor and the River State government to represent the budget to the Martins Amewule-led River State House of Assembly as the legally recognized House of Assembly. The government of River State also ignored and blatantly refused to obey that judgment by representing the budget. So as a consequence, when you take laws into your hands, you face some consequences. The River State House Assembly, under Right Honorable Martin Amewule, went further to asking the court to do the needful by punishing those who refuse to obey court orders, who refuse to obey constitutional provisions, because it is the constitution that brought in the existence of River State House of Assembly. It is also the constitution that brought in the existence of the executive, which the governor, Governor Siminalayi Fubara, is the governor. So you must abide by the prescriptions of the constitution, and the River State government, having failed to do so, the court will not sit idly by and watch its decisions, its judgments being ignored. And if the court does not take proper decision to ensuring that its judgments are that they compel obedience from those who are affected, the judgments will just become an ordinary piece of paper, worthless piece of paper. So it was on the basis of that, Justice Abdul Malik went ahead to direct them that since they refuse to obey, there is no existing appropriation, and the government cannot continue to draw funds from the River State Consolidated Revenue Fund, and that they remain stalled pending when a proper appropriation had been submitted to the Martins Amewule-led River State House Assembly and passed. That is the cross of the matter.
All right, let's quickly bring in Mr. Sogbe Eli, to share his view on this as well. You know, I got to see lawmaker Ikenga Ugochinyere state that, you know, he found it improper that a court would give such a ruling when the matter is currently being appealed, you know, in court. So let's quickly, I mean, you're a legal practitioner, so let us know what you think. Is there anything, you know, wrong with the ruling that was given yesterday, keeping in mind that, you know, that matter is being appealed and is still being adjudicated in court?
Okay, let's just begin by saying that we're headed for a constitutional crisis, an avoidable one at that in this country, because we've allowed politics to override the law. The law is now made a subject of political abracadabra. See, in law, we say, from the point of view of the decision of Lord Denning, of blessed memory, in the case of UAC against McFoy, you don't put something on nothing and expect to stand. If a thing is bad, ab initio, it's incredibly bad, they can't do anything, you throw it away. The reason why you're having problems confronting the judiciary, it's unfortunate that the judiciary has allowed this. Some judges are allowing this to come to pass. We operate a legal system where, in the hierarchy of courts, lower courts are bound by decisions of superior courts. On the issue that is bedeviled university at the moment, for crying out loud, it's a settled law that in the central we find ourselves, where defectors have moved from the party that sponsored the election to another party, the remnant of the House of Assembly can sit. Go and look at Section 102 of the Constitution. Go and look at the case of Dapelong versus Darie, Michael Dapelong and others, attempt to impeach the governor, just for Shibidari of Plateau State. The House of Assembly in Plateau State at that time was depleted. About 10 members moved out of 24 of them. And the court said, look, those who are left behind are the House of Assembly of the state. However, what they cannot do is exercise the power of impeachment. It is settled law. Now, every judge of the Federal Court or Appeal Court knows that that's a law. That decision was made in, I think, 2007, yes. Then by immediate past CJN, or the one before immediate past Justice Walter, Samuel Kano Nogan. Go and read. This is our judicial precedent, and we call it the daughter of stare decisis, let decision stand. Today we'll have judges of lower courts reviewing judgments of superior courts. And don't forget that this is tell on us. When the courts refuse to do what the courts should do, you're compelling disobedience by the public, because, see, that's what they call the court of public opinion. They have the facts. They know the facts. In our laws, a coup is unconstitutional. But if a coup blower succeeds in overthrowing the government, he acquires the token of legitimacy. That doesn't mean it's constitutional. It's an aberration of the Constitution. Here, where people have defected from their party, the facts are in the public domain and we're running away from the facts. Now, these people come back and you go behind the courts to legitimize their illegality. If you have gone to court to seek a judicial review, you must come with clean hands. These people defected, that's the crux of the matter. They were elected on the same platform with Fobara as governor. They elected on their own to leave the party. Now they've gone further, they've found out, look, on the wrong direction. They made a U-turn to deny the defection, and the courts that have taken judicial notice of these facts are going ahead to give judgments that are in conflict with superior decisions of the Supreme Court. I don't understand. As a lawyer, I'm minded to understand that the law is supreme. Look at the Constitution of our country from Section 1. It says the provision of this Constitution shall bind on all authorities and persons. On all authorities and persons, including the president, including judges of courts. So if the Constitution says this is it, why would anybody in his imagination imagine that Section 102 doesn't exist? And moreover, the court have brought life into it. In the case of Dapelong against Darie, those people can sit. They did not defect. And the House of Assembly cannot come to the hall because some people decide to leave their seats. In any event, on the other side of the university, a speaker had already given effect to that defection, Section 109 sub 2, according to the Constitution. They did not appeal that. Now, as we speak here, that letter that speaker wrote to INEC has not been attended to since January last year. And of course, in a matter, one of those, a lot of matters, as I speak to you, 32 cases on the count, on the balance already, in the Federal Court Abuja. And a lot of things are being modeled where we're allowing politics to override the law. It's not done anywhere in the world. democracy first and foremost is built on rule of law. Here in the studio too, as journalists, you're making the same mistakes. Section 22 of the Constitution gives you the power as the father of the realm. My friend on this panel, Ikenga Chibike, was appointed by the National Working Committee of the APC as a member of the Executive Committee. That appointment has been nullified duly by a court of law, court of competent Judiciary and Rivers State. Even if he has gone on appeal, he cannot call himself here APC Public Secretary. It's not. It is valid in Uju. But here we are. It's not about aberration, it's not about disobedience of court orders and constitutional orders. This is one constitution that should send him to jail for contempt. But here we are. He does it with impunity and goes out because now, in River State, let me remind you, let me call to remembrance. In 2018, what the Senate have had a Congress or Congresses against the judgment of the High Court of River State, started over by my Lord, the Honorable Justice Chion Wogu, who proceeded and had an executive committee at state level led by Juga Iflaga Makri, current director of Energy Security in the Office of National Security Advisor.
All right.
By 2019, the court nullified all of that. We didn't have candidates. The courts, even though had the NWC backing the party at that time, the judiciary on one side. Now, it does not know that that can happen. So the media should not aid and abet these things that happen in River State. The superiority of the law over the politics is final. It's in Constitution. So first thing first, if you want to deal with the River State crisis, deal with the Constitution the way it is. The Constitution says there are courts of higher jurisdiction. It is spoken. There's just a binder final on everybody. So until we deal with the issue of the defection of Mabel and Co., they have no legitimacy to demand for anything. They cannot come to equity with dirty hands.
All right, hold on, Mr. Eli.
Mr. Ikenga, I think we'll bring in Mr. Ikenga, in on the conversation. There are a number of things that Mr. Sogbe has said, and would like you to respond as well. He's also challenged your position as in the caretaker committee, stating that it's been nullified. I would like you to react to all of that.
Okay, quickly, thank you. So where Eli had expressed his emotions and sentiments about defection of members of the River State House Assembly. Defection is not substantiated, predicated on emotions, sentiments, and even bitterness. But what we know is that the court, two courts of competent jurisdiction under Justice Omotosho, confirmed that the members of River State House Assembly known to law are the members under Right Honorable Martins Amehuli. The Court of Appeal also confirmed that the members of the House of Assembly River State that are known to law are the ones under Martins Amehuli. And then the Court of Appeal also voided the 800 billion budget purported to have been presented to the three-man committee under Okojumbo. That is what the position of the law is. That's what the Constitution is. And then let me also come, when there are interactions amongst persons, or organizations, or institutions, there are bound to be conflicts. And when those conflicts arise, it is the responsibility of the judiciary to intervene and ensure that we get back to equilibrium. That's what the judiciary is doing. So for my friend Shogbe to stay there and say, oh, this is what it is, that's his own personal opinion. That's his own personal sentiment. I'm talking about what the law and the courts have said. And the Constitution is the issue here. You must respect the prescriptions of the Constitution, which is what the River State government has not done. And then let me go further. He mentioned his name. He said he's a former council chairman. This man was elected as local government chairman of Degema, and court voided it. And up to today, it has not been set aside. But he introduced himself as a member of, as a former council chairman. That's one. And then two, let me also say, there is a subsisting Supreme Court judgment which says that courts are barred from interfering with the internal affairs of political parties. It was on the basis of that Supreme Court judgment that the national leadership of the party under Alhaji Omar Ganduje, through his National Working Committee, which got powers, or the National Executive Committee, which ceded these powers to the National Working Committee under Ganduje, appointed us to superintend over the party because the dissolved executive, the former executive of the party, failed to ensure that the party's fortunes were brought to the fore. They failed repeatedly over time. They were involved in anti-party activities wherein they supported Vice President Atiku Abubakar against President Bola Ahmed Tinubu. This information is with the national leadership of the party. And then they christened us as caretaker to mobilize the party, reorganize the party, and usher in new executive through a congress, which has been fixed now on the 16th of November for what congresses, 23rd of November for local government congresses, and then 30th of November for the state congress to usher in the properly elected executives. That given, but the point here is this. The governor of Rivers State took oath of office and oath of allegiance to protecting the Constitution. But unfortunately, Rivers State government had been seen, particularly the executive, in the media, attacking judges, attacking judgments. That's very unfortunate. That's executive rascality. It is not necessary. It doesn't help us.
Yeah.
Allow the Rivers State House of Assembly to do their work while the executive does this stuff.
Just for clarity.
So there will be checks and balances.
Yeah,
but trying to push them aside to continue to drive the interests of the person or the group of persons who share their interest in the executive is most unfortunate. The Constitution must be obeyed, respected, and for us to have peace, tranquility, and development, we must ensure that we abide by the prescriptions of the Constitution.
Yeah, just for clarity, we're going to have, Mr. Eli, respond. But just for clarity, what argument do you have in particular? Is it that the defections do not necessitate them being removed as lawmakers, or that they didn't defect? What is the main argument here?
Okay, thank you. The courts have affirmed that they did not defect because defections are not just mounted. You must resign from your party, you must show proof, you must register in the new party you have defected to, you must show proof by showing your membership card and showing that you have been paying subscriptions as required. But in this case, the fact that you have signaled an intention, you love the policies and programs of a political party, and that you intend to join them, even if you have mounted so, you have not done so, you have not consummated the processes required in the registration and membership of a new party. The courts have also aligned with us that these are facts, that they are not members of any other party other than the PDP that got them elected.
All right, we'll have Mr. Sogwe Eli respond to all that you've said, but also, just to ask regarding this current situation, the judiciary has been accused. Mr. Ekinga has said that all of this amounts to executive rascality. But we've also seen the judiciary being accused of judicial rascality in how this has been handled. So what is your response or your thoughts in response to the statement that Mr. Ekinga had said that the court had said that they have not yet defected? They didn't defect because there were no indications through their actions. And also, do you consider how these matters have been handled as judicial rascality?
Unfortunately, Kinga is not a lawyer, so he's speaking a lot of abundance of ignorance. I said here, and I want to repeat, that our courts created by the Constitution they function by hierarchy. Once a matter of law, a piece of law is settled by judicial interpretation, it binds on courts below. Normally, even without prompting, a judge sitting in the federal court will not even tamper with discussing defection. After the Supreme Court has spoken in Ifeda Abegud against Underserved Assembly, after the Supreme Court has spoken in a lot of cases, including the one I cited before, the Michael Dape-Along versus Joshua Shibidari and others. Now, it says, it keeps calling Justice Omotosho's court, and I want to laugh. I want to laugh. Justice Omotosho had the matter for him when the president intervened because he thought it was an internal PDP affair. The governor, on his part, withdrew his counter-affidavit, withdrew his defense. So what was before Omotosho was no longer a fact of defection, as grounds for the governor refusing to honor these supposed lawmakers. That he has ignored. What Omotosho gave was a consent judgment because there was no position. And in law, when there's a consent judgment, if you file an appeal, for you to succeed, you must show special grounds why you must be heard, because you are deemed to have abandoned your defense at the trial court. There's no witness box in the Court of Appeal or in the Supreme Court where you go and tender fresh evidence. In the certain circumstances, you can do so. Otherwise, you can't do so. So the issue of defection has not been determined. He's making reference to what they had a judge of the High Court of Rivers say, under Section 272 sub 3, right, after the law was amended last time to take away that power from House of Assembly, from state high court to federal court, which was another debate for another day anyway. But what we're discussing here in section 272 is not about vacancy in the House that arose from death or resignation of membership or appointment of a member of assembly to maybe another office. We're talking about defection under section 109 sub 1G, which has been settled. And in law, once the matter is settled, a judge of a court below takes judicial notice. It's not to foreign to it, nobody needs to remind him. Now, the reason why we have this crisis in Rivers is because we allow politicians who do not respect the law, who hide under the law, to commit a crime. Now, we have a case where an armed robber came to your house, violated your privacy, raped your children, took your property, and now ran to court to get an injunction to rescue himself, to shield himself from the consequence of the law. And you know the facts. The public knows the facts. So the court itself puts itself on trial. So what's happening in the that the judiciary is the one that's putting itself on trial because the court itself is not obeying the doctrine of stare decisis, which is judicial precedent. Now, no court has said so. No federal court in this country has tested evidence of defection. And there's no way they said you must come with evidence of payment of fees in another party. You must not arrest that. On the floor of House Assembly, this member is defected. The world knows it. Everyone knows the facts are there. So what should be talking about? Those people should actually be let them face trial for perjury. It is denying that fact. So what we are dealing here with is where politicians have sat down somewhere, plotted to remove a governor that they brought to office. That plot failed, and the State must not have peace because somebody's ego is bruised. It cannot happen, and shouldn't happen. Yeah. So the issue with interrogator, for you to say you want to solve a budget, again, going back to the issue of judicial precedent, my dear panelists, the Supreme Court has spoken in the case of Attorney General of Lagos State, the Attorney General of Federation, in 2004 on this subject, where President Olusegun Obasanjo ordered the seizure of council funds in Lagos State. Because Lagos State Governor, there now President Bola Ahmed Tinubu, lead the House of Assembly, created local government councils in Lagos State. Now the law is that if you create a local government council, you must have a concurrence by National Assembly. So the Supreme Court said, whilst that creation was inchoate, and that was incomplete, the President, then Governor, was right to create local government council. Therefore, the President at that time, and Commander-in-Chief, Olusegun Obasanjo, cannot withdraw Lagos State funds. There is statutory organization, statutory body, other constitution. You cannot do that. You cannot do that. That judgment was delivered in 2004. Fast forward to 2024, 20 years after, the governor decided the crisis in Lagos is now president. Under his nose, under his watch, people are taking the same routes, and the court is in Abuja, ignoring what the Supreme Court has said in 2004, 20 years ago, and gives an order to withhold allocation.
Does it make any difference? Does it make any difference in these two cases that the earlier one was, the presidency directing that happens, but in this case, we can't clearly say that it was the president that made this happen? I'm not saying president directing. I'm saying under his watch. All right. Judicial presidents are ending and final. The Speaker has spoken, so a court of competent jurisdiction at the level of federal court or appeal court will stay away. You can't do that. You're bound by it. Yeah. A pronouncement of a law court is like a law itself. In this case, Speaker has said you cannot withhold the funds that go to an arm of government or a tier of government because there is some kind of dispute. You cannot do that. So what the Lord, the Honorable Justice Joyce Malik did yesterday, with respect to her, is foraging to sit on appeal on the last decision of the Supreme Court. Since 2014 now, no government, there have been how many presidents? No government has attempted to do that. But here we have reviewing the judgment of the Supreme Court. I was saying that's okay, that's not okay. As a lawyer, I will not sit there and tell you that's the law.
All right, Mr. Eli, hold on.
He has no locus to sit here as an APC, whatever. He does not have. And I'm not ready for all those things. I speak and I say emotion. I cited law, I cited judgments.
All right, kindly hold on. Currently, hold on. Let Mr. Ikenga also have his views aired. I would like that Mr. Ikenga also respond to the point on the 2004 judgment by the Supreme Court on then Governor Bola Tinubu when he was governor of Lagos State. Is that in any way relevant to what we are currently seeing today? And do you, in any way disagree with the point that if there's been a ruling in the past, then we cannot be seeing Justice Abdul Malik, give a ruling completely different today concerning Rivers State? And You know, I mean, is the court, are they also getting involved in politics from what we're seeing here?
Okay, thank you. Firstly, I'd like to say that Sobe Eli, who is there, we know him in Rivers State. He has been an APC member. He is also involved, like he has been in APC, in repetitive academic postulations. He did not and has never won any case in any court as a lawyer, as he brags. We are aware of that. Let him prove me wrong. He has never won any case. So be that as it may, let me say here that what we are talking about here is about decisions of courts that were blatantly or flagrantly disobeyed by Rivers State government. And if you do so, there are consequences. I want to say that the case of the case of Lagos State about creation of LCDAs was not contemplated by the Constitution, and there is no provision in the Constitution. Let him quote these relevant sections that says that so and so thing will happen, particularly seizure of funds if a state creates a local government. But in the case of refusal to pass appropriation bill to law, there are specific provisions in the Constitution which says you cannot draw funds from consolidated revenue fund of a state if appropriation bill was not submitted and passed by the legally constituted assembly. That is a fact. So, as well, impugning the character and integrity of justices based on their judgments is akin to what the Rivers State government is doing. He's a supporter of the government. He's part of them. So the fact that they didn't take a decision that favors you, you come to the media to try to disparage them. You know no more than the justices. You don't know more than the Court of Appeal. These people have been tested hands over time, and they take their decision based on the facts that are before them and the law. So when I like to come to this media and begin to postulate things that are very unfounded, it's very unbecoming.
Mr.
And we will
Ikenga,
not allow
quickly.
him to impugn on the character of the justices.
All right.
We need to wrap up.
Yes, we do.
Shugbe Eli and Mr. Ikenga, we would like to have you both join us. We understand that Rivers State is the most important part of this whole conversation. You know, we hope that soon enough, you know, either through legal or, you know, political means, but somehow, some way, that there is some peace and understanding in the state and the state itself can thrive. Thank you very much to both of you for joining us this morning, and we would invite you again.
Thank you so much. That's our prayer. Thank you for joining.
Tell him that it's Supreme Court. That man to respect the Supreme Court. Thanks for having me.
All right. Welcome once again to Breakfast Central. Now, moving away from Rivers State, let's go to other stories this morning. Now, first was the dance between Dangote Refinery and the NNPC. Now, we've gotten to yet another dance, and this time is between the oil marketers and Dangote Refinery. The Independent Petroleum Marketers Association of Nigeria, IPMAN, have expressed surprise that billionaire businessman Aliko Dangote said marketers were boycotting his refinery to buy imported petrol. IPMAN boss Abubakar Garima said that the union still has 40 billion naira with the NNPCs, and some of its marketers were unable to lift fuel from Dangote Refinery after being sent by the NNPCL. He noted that their trucks were at the refinery for 4 days and products were not sold to them.
Garima said Nigerians would see a reduction in the pump price of petrol if Dangote Refinery lets independent marketers lift the product directly like the NNPCL. Oil marketers have now written a letter to the Dangote Petroleum Refinery expressing their willingness to buy refined petroleum products from the $20 billion plant. This comes amid another pump price hike by the Nigerian National Petroleum Company Limited, NNPCL. Petrol prices increased to 1,025 per litre in Lagos and 1,060 naira per litre in Abuja, marking the third price hike in September and October 2024. We're joined this morning by the National Public Relations Officer of Petroleum Products Retail Outlets Owners Association, Petroan, Dr. Joseph Obele. Good morning. Thank you for joining us.
Good morning. Thank you for having me.
All right. A number of issues have been raised. The inability of independent oil marketers to lift off Dangote, the money that they have stock with the NNPCL, the possibility of price increase, even though the NNPCL says that they're not aware of any price increase. But the reality is that Nigerians have recorded price increase across different filling stations in the country. So let's start with exactly what the situation is regarding the Independent Petroleum Marketers Association of Nigeria not being able to lift petrol off Dangote.
Okay, let me start by correcting this impression. Among the stakeholders of the oil and gas downstream sector is IPMAN 1 and Petron 2. Petron is the acronym for Petroleum Product Retail Outlet Owners Association of Nigeria, where IPMAN is the acronym for Independent Petroleum Marketers Association of Nigeria. But good enough, I'm a member and a stakeholder in IPMAN 2, so I can still give you a brief regarding your question. But I'm the mouthpiece of the Petron as it concerns national PRO. But let me come to your question. I'm aware that there is a link of communication between the independent petroleum marketers and Dangote refinery, but it has not really come to fruition. It has not been concluded, and there is no deal at the moment. And when Aliko Dangote mentioned in his broadcast that he is waiting that independent marketers should come and pick, I think there is no fact regarding that very statement. And that can be coming from frustration. I see a huge frustration to the Africa conglomerate, the richest man in Africa, arising from what I call in inventory holding costs. The two basic components in inventory management is what we call carrying costs and holding costs. And holding costs is computed by total overall cost of holding the commodity divided by the value of commodity or holding multiplied by 100. And when he mentioned that they are having 500 million liters in their stock, and I did my analysis, Dangote should be losing close 50 million naira every day for holding inventory. And businessmen usually run away from holding any cost, and hence they will prefer doing what they call turnover. So turnover is better than holding a cost, holding a commodity that will be giving you. So I see him, and recall also about 2 months ago, there's a statement he used also. He said, if I have knew, I wouldn't have stepped into this industry. And he used another statement also, say, I wish they would buy me off, or they will buy me off. So these three statements putting together, that if I have knew one, then number two, I wish they would buy me off too. And this very one that I say is spending much for holding cost of inventory. Put these three statements together is a statement arising from a bitter point of regret. And I'm saying that when our brother and our friend is lamenting about a business established in Nigeria, is a further pointer that will be a barrier to the to international potential investors, because they will do an analysis and conclude by saying in the feasibility studies that if your brother, if your own, from your place can be lamenting or having all these numerous frustrations, how would that attract me to come? So I want to call on the government of Nigeria to see how, I'm so convinced that there's a lot of untold stories between the Dangote refinery management and NNPC and federal government. And they're not really coming to the open to tell us. But the truth is that we in Petron, I as a national PRO, I can tell you on record, I personally submitted a letter to the office of the Dangote refinery in Lagos, requesting for an appointment so we can talk, how we can start buying. As at this hour, both IPMAN and Petron are still buying from Dangote via NNPC. And NNPC graciously announced that the middlemanship has been dismantled, arising from that. So
was NNPC lying? Was the NNPC being dishonest when they declared the end of that middlemanship like you just spoke about? Were they being dishonest with Nigerians?
It could be a growing concern that we have opened up this window. But I'm telling you, I'm still on the portal, and the portal was given to us by NNPC. It's called NNPC Buying Portal Express. Why won't we see it converted to Dangote Portal Buying Express? As NNPC doesn't have any functional refinery. I'm still telling you that as at this hour as we speak, we are still buying from NNPC as a sole supplier. And we have no dealing with Dangote. There's no table. We have been called for a meeting. Although we have written also to the Minister of Petroleum to intervene by inviting us and Dangote, so that it has been announced that marketers, please come forward. Marketers really want to go forward. And how much are you willing to say to us? No person is even telling us. Because coming forward, the core factor that should attract us to your organization is the pricing factor. He's not even announcing his pricing factor. So there's a lot of untold stories. There's a lot of behind the scene factors. And I think they need to unveil everything and make the whole of this stuff transparent. Because we have written to Mr. President that one of the core factors that have contributed to the low volume of sales, like Dangote is lamented that a lot of stocks are tying down, it may not really be we coming forward, is the capital. The independent petroleum marketers, the petrol members, we the retail outlet owners, we don't have this capital. I'll put this to you. It cost us 7 million as at last year to buy a truck of 45,000 capacity. Today, that same capacity of 7 million is 48 million naira. And we wrote to Mr. President requesting for a grant of 100 billion to enable us have a pool, an in and out pool that our members will be pulling out and be buying. And we projected that 10,000 marketers will be out of business the next 45 days if no intervention is done. And these 10,000 marketers will further worsen the unemployment index of Nigeria. By that, about 1 million persons will be out of job.
And it's really not a good look. I mean, having 10,000 marketers out of business doesn't just affect the marketers and their families. It will affect Nigeria as a whole. Accessibility to products and pricing would also become a challenge. But 40 billion...
This is why...
Yeah.
This is why the national president, Dr. Gilly Harry, national president of Petro, graciously signed a letter on the 21st of October, and I myself, national PRO, and carried and served it to the presidential house, to the villa, to the office of Mr. President. I have delivered the letter. We've not gotten a response today. What we did was like, let me say, raising an alarm, alerting Mr. President that will consolidate with all these reforms, economic reform agendas, that we want to notify him that 1 million persons will be out of job. I think the latest statistics released by Nigeria Bureau of Statistics have it that about 5.3 Nigerians are out of job, which further represent about 4 million Nigerians. So we are saying if 1 million persons join this labor market, to be a total of about 5 to 6 million Nigerians out of job. And the unemployment index of Nigeria is worrisome, and wouldn't want another one to add to it. And this is not as if it's an industrial action. No, it's not an industrial action. Right. Who was ordinarily buying a truck of product for 7 million? I'm putting to you that it now costs same person 49 million. Hence, they're unable to buy. Yeah. So one of the core factors that is contributing to the low purchase power is not just really that marketers are not coming forward, like Aliko Dangote mentioned. Is the fact that marketers don't have this capital to come forward. Something we're buying 7 million, now 48 million. Who will give this to you? Who will give this to you?
Can you confirm how much you're buying from the, how much a liter you're buying from the NNPC?
At the moment?
Yes.
At the moment is one, it differs from your location. We here in Port Harcourt, we are buying at 1,040 naira per liter. And it was still, as it were, as at yesterday. Then Lagos are buying 1,030, 1,020 naira per liter.
All right, so this confirms that the NNPC has increased its price, correct?
No, to we, the petroleum retail outlet owners on the portal, it still remains the same. All right. But the truth is that if you open the portal, the price still remains the same, but they are out of stock. So I'm thinking that having reflected an upward review to that of the NNPC retail filling stations, which is obvious, when they have stock for we, the petroleum retail outlet owners on the portal, I think it's obvious we'll see a price adjustment.
All right, just if you can help us clarify, Ipman had said that he had about 40 billion naira with the NNPC. I don't know if that's also the same story with Petron. Is that the reality that you're experiencing as well?
Yes, it's true.
Okay,
I think
great.
Have
you contacted the NNPCL regarding the 40 billion naira and the possibility of maybe transmitting same to the Dangote refinery? And if you have, what has been the response?
No, the truth of the matter is that this amount of money is a backload of product paid to NNPC, and they went out of stock. So members are waiting for them to receive stock, and loading will commence. And also, there is few backloads also arising from when PEF, Petroleum Equalization Fund, has not been dismantled by the PIA. We recall that the PEF was organized in the situation to equalize the petroleum product price in all the nations. So if you are supplying the product to the northern part of Nigeria or some faraway distance within Nigeria, the agency was paying the equalization of the transportation. So our members still have some payment still pending in the defunct PEF office. Although there are efforts to make this payment, but this hour it has not been made. Then also, we have a lot of trucks, number of trucks we pay to NNPC, and they are yet to load us because they are out of stock. If you open up the portal right now, you see a statement on the portal written, sorry, the product you requested for is not available at the moment.
All right.
But at before then, members have made payment, and they are yet to load us with all this. But our worry...
As quickly as you can, please, the final question would be your response to the statement that Dangote has enough petrol to meet Nigeria's demand. However, retailers and marketers are more interested in importing fuel as opposed to patronizing from him.
See, in a deregulated market, what matters to the buyer, the marketer, or the retail outlet owner is where he has the best value for his capital. So the best value, will it be coming from Dangote? How much are you willing to sell to us? He has not announced it tomorrow. Only what we know over here on this your platform is how much NNPC is selling to us. So why is Dangote not announcing? When he was lamenting, he would have announced that, hey, marketers, I'm waiting for you, but this is my rate. There is no seller that is not willing part-time to announce how much he's selling his commodity. So the question you journalists should ask is that, Dangote, how much, what will attract us to come and rush over to that facility is how much are you willing to sell to us? And we have a privileged information that what Dangote will be willing to sell to us is far higher than what we are getting right now from NNPC. So there's no attractive factor to make us go over there. Then number two, we importing, because we're also making the move to get an approval so we can commence importation. We importing, will it be far cheaper than what Dangote will be willing to? So all these are on the table at the National Head Office of Petrol at the moment, and we're trying to do a permutation analysis of where will be best, cheaper, and best market for us to get value for the business we're operating. All right.
Obviously, the Dangote refinery doesn't seem to be the most favorable market for oil marketers at this point. Yeah, and if the...
No. We can't conclude that it's not favorable because we are yet to know the price. If you announce tomorrow that I'll be selling to you 900 naira, as against the 1,040 naira we are buying for NNPC, there is no businessman that will see a discount or a differentiation of 1 kobo or 1 naira that wouldn't want to put his head over there.
I agree.
So why we are not going there yet is the fact that we are still tied to NNPC via the middlemanship. Then number two, we don't even know. We should just pull our truck and come over there. At how much? What is the rate? It's not even saying. It's not even talking about it. Yeah. So there's no attractive factor to bring us over there at the moment.
I agree.
We are aware.
I wasn't referring to Dangote in particular. I was talking about what the current reality is. You buying from the NNPC at uncertain price. That's what I meant by it's currently doesn't seem to be the most favorable option compared to importing petrol. But thank you very much, Joseph Bello. We're out of time for this conversation. We'll see what the new week brings and if the presidency will respond to your letter and set up a meeting between yourself and Dangote refiners, or maybe the NNPC as well. Nigerians are anxious and Nigerians are getting impatient at this point. Thanks for your time. We'll speak with you again.
Thank you for having me. I appreciate it.
All right.
Welcome back to Breakfast Central. Now, this is a point where we review the papers and share with you the big stories and also get to hear your thoughts on some of these big stories because we open the phone lines and you can call the numbers on the TV screen. Now, joining us to review the papers and also celebrate the return of power to certain northern states is the one and only Chris Kende, the publisher of CKN News. Good morning. Thank you for joining us. I love how very good you look, how very northern you look. And I want to say, Sanu.
That's it. That's it.
Nadia Ihuku. Oh, I tell you, in Nakwana. Lafiako. All right, now let's get into the leadership newspaper this morning. On the front page of the leadership newspaper, our big story there says, Bill for Traditional Rulers Rule, funding ready. This is, of course, speaking to constitutional amendment. Governors, monarchs meet in Aso Rock to seek support. Major General Oluyole appointed acting chief of army staff. Court stops Rivers Assembly allocations. TCN restores power to North after 9 days. Initially, they had said it will be sorted out on the 12th of November, but good news, we didn't have to wait that long, which is why CKN is dressed in celebration. Sanwo-Olu, Edun, others hail Adebutu for building media center. Senate confirms Iwata, Ojukwu, 5 others as ministers. Don't take everything IMF tells you. Jega wants federal government. Look at reps to partner leadership in combating poverty. That's all we have this morning on the leadership. Let's move over now to the Punch.
On the Punch newspapers this morning, we have here petrol rising cost. We just got off an interview with the spokesperson for Petran, and he did pour out a lot, of information on, what's going on over there. Petrol rising costs, marketers write Dangote over bulk purchase deal. It says here, Ipman, Petron, refineries 500 million PMS reserves. Queues in Abuja after NNPC's price hike. Going to also find here, police arrest 1,246 arms dealers, kidnappers, recover 3,172 ammunition in October. Bianca Ojukwu and others, other ministers rather, set for swearing in after Senate confirmation. Commuters demand quick repair of Lagos Bridge. Top of the screen, Fubara appeals as court stops Rivers allocation. Strike university workers vow showdown as federal government rebuffs talks. And of course, also, Tinubu appoints Oluyede as acting chief of army staff as Lagbaja undergoes treatment. There was a bit of controversy on that story in the last couple of weeks concerning the health of the chief of army staff. But those are the stories on the Punch newspapers this morning. I think we have one more paper and then we can bring in our...
All right, let's move over to the next paper, which is the Daily Times. On the front page of the Daily Times, article to Judiciary, don't set Rivers on fire as court stops CBN from releasing monthly financial allocations to Rivers government. Your policy is killing Nigerians, PRP tells Tinubu, wants president to rethink playing IMF, World Bank script on fuel subsidy and currency devaluation. Technology crucial to tackling national security challenges, says Ribadu. Federal government justifies 4 toll gates on Abuja, Kefi, Makurdi Expressway. Tinubu appoints Major General Olufemi Oluyede as acting chief of army staff. 9 states record no medical equipment purchase in 2023, according to a report. Defense headquarters debunks reported terrorist takeover of military training area in Niger. That was a story that was quite big yesterday, but yes, they have debunked that, and we hope that, that maybe lays that to rest. But we begin with the big story this morning. Don't set Rivers on fire, article to Judiciary. But before then, we'd like to mention that if there are any of the stories that you'd like to share your thoughts on, please do well to feel free to call in and share your thoughts on any of the stories. We begin with Rivers State. The court has barred the Central Bank of Nigeria from giving further allocations from the federal allocation to Rivers State. Rivers State doesn't seem to be bothered about that. But Atiku is warning, the presidency, saying that, they shouldn't set Rivers State on fire. But let's get your general sense of what exactly has happened so far. Some are saying it's executive rascality. Some are saying it's judicial rascality. Some are saying that it is a similar life Fubara in this case that has been has been a rascal by not playing by the rules. What are your thoughts?
I don't want to start engaging myself with the politics of Rivers State, who to blame or who not to blame. But the issue remains that the courts of competent jurisdiction has given a directive yesterday. Whether they are right or wrong, it is for the is for the Rivers State government to appeal that judgment, which they say they have done already. So it's on appeal already. But my problem is the way and manner, and totally agree with Atiku Abubakar, the way and manner our judiciary is going about their job. And that in itself is bringing a lot of... If we are going to scuttle this democracy, it will be because of the judiciary, not even the politicians, because the chaos they are causing everywhere. The CJN recently, a few days ago, says he's inviting the two gladiators, judges in the Rivers crisis. He's inviting them, she's inviting them, so that they can be interrogated. I'm talking about the judge of the state high court and the judge of the federal high court have been giving conflicting judgments in Rivers crisis. And that is what is furthering it. Because without these courts, I don't think we'll be where we are today. There could have been a political solution to it, but it seems that everybody wants to go window shopping for judgment. But what is more intriguing to me, and which I also believe that the CJN should extend her investigation, is how come that the outcome of this judgment had been pre-warned over 2 weeks ago? We have been told that the Wike faction already in the High Court, I'm sure you read about that, in FCT, looking for a judgment to stop. And I thought it was a joke.
Yeah,
and just through to scripts. And it happened. Yeah.
Good morning, Michael. Michael, good morning. Can you hear us?
Yes, good morning to you.
Morning. Quickly, go ahead.
Okay, so my take on this Rivers issues, the history is repeating itself. Remember when the President Obasanjo was the president and Tinubu was the governor in Lagos State. Tinubu created additional local government, and they have issues with Obasanjo, and Obasanjo withheld the allocation of Lagos State, and everybody was fighting to support Tinubu. The federal government should not withhold allocation of a state. If you have political difference with a politician that is in charge of a state, it does not mean that the state, the entire citizen of the state will suffer. The allocation is statute-free. Every state is entitled to the allocation. But it's very unfortunate that now Tinubu is the president, and Wike is acting as if it's above the law. It goes to court, procure judgment. The judiciary has become a tool in the hands of the politicians. The Wike is building accommodation, building houses for the judiciary. So they owe him a favor. Any judgment he asks them to pass, that is what they will pass. That is why even the Supreme Court cannot decide anything different from what the APC has done at the polls by manipulating the election. So we are Nigerians, we are at the mercy of these politicians. We just need God intervention. Thank you.
Oh, well,
all right.
Maybe not God, but please go ahead, Mr.
Michael was 100% on point, and he even took it to where I was going to, and he practically said it all. Just as he said, the same thing happened, lightning striking twice on the same spot. Same thing happened during the time of Obasanjo, and we had the fund meant for Lagos State what was held. But that in itself brought up some level of ingenuity by the Lagos State governor then, who is now the president. And he came out with a high level of internal generation mechanism, which made Lagos wasn't in need of the money. The same thing is going to happen in Rivers, because if you look at Rivers, Rivers received one of the highest allocation from FARC. So if with or without whatever is coming to the local government, which is what the governor was saying yesterday, the local government will still run. But the fact remains that this is not the way to go. This is not how to go. Because the Supreme Court of Nigeria has given a judgment that nothing must be done to local government funds, either by the executive or anybody. So after the judgment by the Supreme Court, how come that the High Court...
Can there be an argument, that this isn't local government, this is, state government funds, and so there's no court ruling?
No, it's not state. Which one's state government fund? The fund is meant, they don't release allocation meant for River State. It wasn't what they are talking about. They are talking of local government funding. That is what...
Let's hold on. Let's hold on and quickly take this call from Chooks calling from Asaba. Good morning, Chooks. Thank you very much for calling. Please go ahead.
Yes, good morning.
Good morning.
People. Yes, let me appreciate you, some of us are not happy what's happening with the judiciary. It's unfortunate that at this stage, the judiciary want to set the country on fire. I don't see any reason why politicians, I'm a politician, but I don't see any reason why they will use the judiciary to cause confusion. Things are very straight. River State is very clear to the country. River State, the resources of River State is helping to stabilize. These politicians, especially Wike, I think Tinubu should call into order. Wike is having too much influence on the federal government. What kind of rubbish is that? How can it be causing confusion everywhere? If you saw your way, then nobody survived. If you saw your way, nobody cared. When he was governor, he never allowed anybody to work. He did all he did. Please, I want to appeal to Nigerians, especially the president. Tinubu is a Democrat, and we love him. They've destroyed this country, but he's trying to put this in order. But he shouldn't use people like Wike. Wike have not done anything reasonable in this country. Please, you people should advise the federal government. The confusion is too much. We are Nigeria that don't have now flood is ravaging us. Nobody is attending to us now. Thank you.
All right.
Thank you very much for...
All right, thanks a lot. I think we could just move on to talking about
Yeah,
that.
just in rounding up, as I said, yes, my thoughts still on this release of funds is, for goodness sake, whose interest is being protected? If the politicians that are going to court are doing that to stop the release of funds for funds meant to better the lives of the people of Rivers State, and you say you are representing these people, then you should ask yourself the fundamental question: whose interests are you protecting? Because if the funds are withheld and are not
you trying
released,
to punish the
so are you now trying to punish the people that you are also representing? It doesn't make any sense. It doesn't make any sense to me. If you have political issues to resolve, you resolve within yourselves. But that they should not release funds that is meant for development in your own state, that you are representing, that you are a legislator, or that you are a so-called godfather and rest of them, then it speaks so much volume of the kind of politicians we have in Nigeria. And I still believe that this issue can be resolved by the president. The day the president decides to stop what is going on in Rivers State, it will stop. The president has the power to call his minister, Yesu Wike, to order, to let Rivers breathe. And he has about, and as I always said,
if he doesn't, is it a clear sign that he might be an interested party?
Is he not an interested party, as it is? If he's not an interested party, why did he call them to a meeting? If that meeting they couldn't resolve the issue. As a president, he doesn't have to come to television to announce what he's saying. He works on that. He has a way of getting issues done. He's the president of Nigeria. If Rivers State goes on fire, Nigeria will be affected. Are you not aware of that? If anything happened to Rivers State, where we get the bulk of our oil, crude oil, which is our cash cow, won't it affect Nigerian economy? Yeah. So that is what we're talking about. Rivers is not just any state.
What of those who would argue that we don't have any direct link between what happened or the judgment of Justice Abdul Malik to Nyesom Wike's involvement, and it's all just mere speculations because we can't categorically say that he did this or he powered this because we don't have evidence to prove that?
I'm a graduate of law. I personally don't feel that we should have executive interference in judiciary. The judiciary is supposed to be independent. Funds should be released to the judiciary to take care of its own needs. But when you see governors trying to, they want to buy car for judges, they want to build houses for judges, they want to do this for judges. At the end of it, or he who replaced the pipe dictates the tune. And I was so surprised that High Court judges, Supreme Court judges, justices, the chief CJN, Court of Appeal judges came and sat down, cap in hand, and collecting letter of allocation for houses from minister who is of the executive. Somebody said, oh, he did it after all. He built houses for judges when he was governor of yes. Yes, he did. But you don't not just come and do a display of such. If you want to build houses for them, you build them. Yes, of course. The houses might not just belong to the court. But I did not say I saw them wearing their shoes, standing up and buttoning and going and collecting this thing and bowing to the minister. No matter whatever it is, irrespective of whatever you think, people will also have the feeling that whatever happens within the court, in FCT and rest of them, that because of that gesture, of course, it's normal. Right. It's normal. Yeah. Okay. It's perception. That's what we call perception in PR.
The controversy in the petrol petrol sector.
I thought you have fully discussed that. Do you want to discuss it again?
I mean, it's in the news this morning. You know, Ipman Petron. I mean, we've repeatedly spoken with Ipman spokesperson, and you know, he says, "Oh, just hold on. We're about to meet with Dangote. You know, once we meet with him, we're going to have an agreement. Petrol price will come down. You know, because we're going to get supplied directly from Dangote." That has been going on for at least the last 3 weeks or 1 month. No success. Petron this morning says they've not had any conversations, you know, and any agreement with Dangote yet. Dangote says that he has too much petrol,
but they don't want to buy
buying
from him.
Petron says, you know, they used to buy 7 million naira for a tanker before, now it's 48 million naira. The NNPC says that they're no longer middlemen, but Petron says that they're still buying from NNPC.
Ipman says they have 40 billion naira trapped with the NNPC. And now Petron is also asking for a loan from the government to be able to lift petrol because it's ridiculously expensive and they don't have the money. So,
the one that is of interest to me is that even their tanks, their petrol tanks, tankers that they send to pick up petrol, they say for about 4 days. Some of them stay there for 4 or 5 days. They can't get petrol to lift. So if you say 500, you have over 500 million liters. How come you are not giving it out? And how come they are not picking it up?
so there's a missing puzzle that we just can't seem to
Some
connect.
people are lying.
Somebody's lying.
Somebody is lying. So you are not. Let us even say, I'm tired of talking about Dangote refinery because it's just like a broken record.
Okay,
No. I just want to drop. I want to drop some because until Dangote come out to tell Nigeria how much he sells his petrol per liter, then I won't take him seriously. The NNPC said that at the last point, that they were buying 889 from Dangote. Dangote came out to say it's a lie. But Dangote did not tell Nigerians how much he's selling to NNPC. So is there something not fishy? Now we have had an increase again within the last 24 hours, almost the 4 or 5 times in close to 6 months.
Even though NNPC will now come and deny it. But Nigerians are saying, we're seeing the reality.
We're seeing it now. I didn't buy for us. I was coming this morning. I know how much. But the fundamental question we need to ask, which everybody has taken off the ball, is what is happening to the refinery in Port Harcourt that the federal government and NPCL told us that
we've moved on from that now.
From December.
We've moved on from that now.
So what I'm saying,
the problem that you have is that you're not patient.
Yes, I'm not patient enough. Yes. My name is not patient. I have good luck, I have good luck, but my name is not patient.
Hey, don't leave me.
Solomon, good morning.
Oh, so sorry. Solomon, please call back.
That's the main problem you have. You don't have patience.
No,
we are bringing this refinery now.
Very soon.
Yes. I mean, Petron has written to the Minister of Petroleum, in this case, of course, being the president. We're hoping that, you know, in his magnanimous nature, he would respond and speak. You know, when he said, let there be light. You know, he said, let there be light yesterday in the news. And light has been restored to
7 out of about 19.
So maybe he will say, let there be petrol.
Listen, let me tell you what is happening.
Happen.
We are just pawns in the chessboard. If you play chess very well, the king and the queen are the ones dictating what is happening until they decide to tell us what we do. But where it pains me most is that they've made us so resilient that Nigerians, whatever comes, we take. And until we are ready to do something, as Nigerians, we'll continue to go down this slope.
All right.
The day Nigerians decide that enough is enough, then we'll need this in the
You see this thing that we keep hearing, this is the most confusing thing for a number of Nigerians, because whenever we had our guest yesterday, Mr. Kachon Onuju, talking about how Nigerians are the one who will decide when they have had enough. And I asked him, I said, so what is the deciding factor? What is it? And he said people should go to the street. I said, if people go to the street to protest, they will arrest them.
No,
let me tell you, what really is the option?
No, don't even talk about whether arrest. Listen, what happened, you remember the Arab Spring? Yes. You're not a student of history, just go and read. That's all I need to say. Go and read the Arab Spring. As terrible as the leaders within the Arab world thought they were, when it started, nobody could start. It was a tsunami. And I continue to say that our leaders should be very, very careful. There's a way you push. Ordinary goods, go to where you buy. Go to where you buy, where you want. There's a way you go beat goat. You don't get goat. You can't afford goat. The chicken where you buy. There's a way you push the goat to the wall and it has to react. So let them not take the patience of, we are sitting on a time bomb, for goodness sake. There's a point to which people get, when they know they have nothing at stake, they are ready to stake their life. I pray that we don't get to that point. All right,
let's quickly talk about, still on the front page of the Punch newspaper, We've seen there Bianca Ojukwu, other ministers set for swearing in after Senate confirmation. You know, your thoughts regarding the new ministers being sworn in. At the beginning of the show, we talked about this, and Osage had mentioned that we don't even know why the former ministers were fired. So if we don't know why the former ministers were fired, what is the yardstick for measuring the performance of these new ministers? Before you take that response, we have a call from Abuja. Good morning. Thank you very much for calling. Please go ahead. We're struggling with your audio. Can you please speak up?
Yeah, hello?
Yes, please. Go ahead. We can hear you now.
Okay. I just want to speak on the issue of Wike. And, yeah, can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you. Please go ahead.
Okay. So I just want to speak on the issue of Wike and Rivers State. It's quite unfortunate that we have a government that doesn't care about people. Initially, they told us that Tinubu have the political will to handle Nigerian situation or whatsoever. But it looks like the political will is not there. Because if the political will is there, I think Tinubu, as the president, should issue an order about whatever that's happened in Rivers State. He has to control Wike, because if the way things are going, Wike might destroy Rivers State. I cannot see the reason why an individual will hold his own state in ransom. As a matter of fact, how can you hold the allocation of your state just because you are having a fight or having an issue with your successor? That's not done anywhere. When the issue arises between former president Olusegun Obasanjo and the current president, I think it was between president and a governor. But it's quite unfortunate that what we have today is between an FCT minister, a minister, not even an elected office, with a governor. It's quite unfortunate that we are running a country like this. They told us that people have a political will. But it's quite unfortunate that we have a president that doesn't even care about what is happening in his country. It's very, very unfortunate. Thank you so much.
All right. Thank you for calling.
All right, thank you very much.
All right. Please respond to the question.
Don't talk about her beauty. Don't talk about her beauty. You know, the Senate president has a way of always lightening up the chambers, and you saw what happened during the screening yesterday. But good enough, the new ministers have been skinned, and
I don't even know if that is proper.
I was waiting for somebody to point that out.
I mean, I understand, you know, that jokes could be made, but for a Senate president, is that the type of, you know, speech that we expect from him?
Especially because he's come under fire before for how he... Remember when he said to this...
for this one, just listen. It wasn't Wike that started. If you watch the screening, that issue was started by Senator, the former Abuja National Chairman, who was talking about the beauty of Bianca and the rest of them. It wasn't the Senator.
So regardless of the Senate... So can I just quickly chip in something? Because it's... when you're screening these people, you don't ever hear them screening a man and talking about, oh, how very handsome he looks, or how very well dressed he looks. Why is a conversation about her beauty being...
In her CV.
Because she has served before.
No.
She has served, so why are they not talking about her capacity first?
In her CV, she has a CV which is submitted. Part of that CV was, I was a former Miss Universe, Miss blah, 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 Nigeria. It was, I'm not justifying what they say. What I'm saying is, it's part of the CV, so they are having fun. But let us focus on the issue at stake. There was something very, very germane that which I saw, which at least on her part, the other ones I wasn't too much understanding, where she was talking about the deplorable state of our embassies across the globe. I think we lost that message. I thought that would have been the message on the front page of every newspaper this morning. Because she spoke on how she spent 1 year in a hotel when she was posted to Spain as an ambassador. Because the embassy where her house was so much in a deplorable state. And it's the same thing across the globe. You need to go to all our embassies across the globe. But let me even before I land on that. This is over going to 2 years now. Do you know that the president have not appointed any ambassador?
Yeah.
Are you aware of that?
Yeah.
And we're having serious issue, fundamental issue. Those are supposed to, so when we talk about governance, it's not just talking about fuel. We're talking of governance because The way you represent yourself. Most of those embassies, staff in those embassies, some of them are begging for money to feed.
Yeah, let's quickly bring in Felix, who's joined us from Benin. Good morning, Felix.
Oh, sorry, Felix.
I mean, I think it's also important to mention, that your embassies will be a representation of
that is your interface.
What is the current day Nigeria looking like? I don't know that our embassies should look different from what we currently are experiencing as a country.
That should be a minimum standard. If you understand what I mean. Whether the country or what, there must be a minimum standard.
I agree with you.
There must be a minimum standard.
But I feel like it's selling a false narrative of what Nigeria currently is.
No, I tend to disagree there. The House of Representative members, the National Assembly members, the ministers, the governors, where are they staying? Forget about I'm talking of whoever is the ambassador of Nigeria in U.S. is the president of Nigeria in the U.S. Let's take it from there, because it's not just his house, it's not just his place. Other diplomats comes there, other issues. So that is where you handle issues relating to. But most of these embassies are just, they are nothing to write home about. That's what I'm talking about. So I personally feel that for us to be able to be, you are talking of foreign investment. Where is the first point of call? So those are the issues for me. Why is it that we don't have ambassadors as we're supposed to have?
Hold on.
Over 2 years.
Let's again bring in Felix. Good morning, Felix.
Yeah, good morning.
Morning, welcome. Go ahead.
Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you. Please go ahead.
Yeah, I want to comment on the Rivers State crisis.
All right, go ahead.
Right, seems that Felix's internet is a bit shaky. Yes.
Just landing on it. Yeah, we are not told what the issues were or how they did not perform. But I remember that I remember vividly that the spokesperson of the president came out to say that they didn't perform up to expectation, and also some of them that are being moved to a more strategic thing. But what I want to commend this government basically for is that for the first time in the history of Nigeria, we are having ministers' names being sent to the Senate with their portfolio and designation.
And that's what we've been talking about.
And that is what we've been talking about. And that is what should be, so that when you ask questions, you ask specific questions, unlike what we have in the past, where you'll be asking somebody about education.
And then at the end of the day, women affairs.
To go and women affairs and the rest of them. That is commendable, and I hope that we'll be able to sustain that.
So two things. I want to, once again, make the point that I was trying to make earlier, that our embassies, I understand the importance of having embassies that, are welcoming to foreign investors, and of course they are the face of the country abroad, right? But if you look at what Nigeria currently looks like and the way that Nigeria has been run, it's not shocking to see that our embassies look the way that they are. I've argued always that the dysfunction that you find in one sector would not be different from the dysfunction you find in the next sector. It spreads across everywhere. The dysfunction that we complain about Nigeria is in everything that concerns us. Until we have leaders that understand the priority that should be placed on Nigeria as a project, and Nigeria as a country, we would not see an improvement in our embassies. And anybody who decides that we're going to focus on making our embassies beautiful and attractive and ignore the rot back home is deceiving you. And it's really only going to do that to make you look beautiful on the outside. But the rot back home would not be the same thing, with what our embassies represent. I need to speak on something else, but let's quickly bring in someone else who's joining us. Good morning. Good morning, David. Okay. Hopefully he comes back. The second thing I wanted to quickly chip in on is with the ministerial screening and what I said when we started the show this morning, that yes, good thing that, there's reasons to commend them coming with their portfolios and whatnot. Great. This could have been done in 2023 when the ministerial appointments were made. But we were told back then, the current administration has an eye for talent. 16 months after the inauguration, they're having to replace people and shuffle people around. So we've lost 16 months with which these people could have contributed some level of talent to developing these sectors. That's one. Two, we don't know the reason that these people were fired. I heard Bayo Ononuga say that the person who was in charge of monitoring ministries' KPIs, that she had her own way of analyzing their success, and that she was carrying out surveys. So what she did was to ask a couple of people, about this ministry, which is a shocking way to rate the performance of ministries. Very, very shocking. And my point here is, if we don't know why the Minister for Education, for example, Professor Tahir Maman, if he was removed because he couldn't perform, if we do not know the reason he couldn't perform, we don't know that same reason will not affect the new minister. If it is because of gross incompetence, if it is because of a lot of bureaucracy, if it's because of failure of funds being released to his ministry, if it is because there's a lot of blockages here and there, if we don't know any of those things, then we don't know that the new minister will come in and do better than him. Same thing with every other ministry. If you remember, I remember that I had a conversation in 2017, I believe, when we're talking about funds that were meant for southeastern roads, and reps in the House of Assembly then from the southeast that failed to ensure that those funds eventually got to the fixing of Enugu and all those expressways. And the argument was, we weren't receiving money, or the money that was budgeted wasn't being released. And I remember that the person that I spoke with back then said, well, you've been there for 8 years, 12 years, 20 years. You never mentioned one day that the funds were not being released. Yeah.
Let me take the last one. Yes, I totally agree with you. The KPI and whatever issues we are not aware. Definitely government might not be, but let me throw it back at you and as us. As journalists, what is our job?
To find out.
Good.
To ask questions.
That's it. So the question is back to you. It's back to me. Yes. What happens to investigative journalism? That used to be the rock of journalism in Nigeria. So the average, are you asking the average Nigerian on the street, what? So it is for you and I as journalists to use the FOI, whether it's working or not, to be able to investigate this. So I'm throwing this back at you as a journalist. Do your job as a journalist and make sure that we find out the reason we are there. That is our job as journalists. Absolutely. And that is why we are there, and that is why we should be able to hold our leaders accountable for whatever it is. So I hope you take that back.
I've totally caught it. Thank you very much. So, Chris Kendi, thanks very much for stopping by and for joining us. Thanks to our callers as well. We enjoyed your contribution as well.
Thank you very much for having me.
We'll take a very short break. When we come back, let's share with you what other Nigerians are saying. Now, of course, welcome back. Let's quickly get our correspondent, Chizoba, who's joining us to share with us some very, very, live feed on what's going on with the reality with many Nigerians. Chizoba, good morning. I can see that there's still chaos with regards petrol pricing in different parts of Nigeria. Confirm where you are for us, and then what's going on over there.
Okay, right now I am at the NNPC mega station in Toronto, Plateau State Capital, and you can see behind me here we have a lengthy queue actually by my right-hand side, and funny enough by the other side of the road. And I don't know the hope they have, the kind of faith they have that we'll be able to get petrol today, because they're not actually on the right side of the road where they should be to be able to buy the petrol. It's a sorry situation here on the plateau. So many filling stations do not have petrol to sell to drivers. These motorists have been here. As a matter of fact, I was here early this morning, like around 7 a.m., and I met a very long queue. And funny enough, they said some of them slept here. They passed the night here to be sure that by the time the sales begin this morning, they'll be able to buy this scarce commodity, so to speak. But according to the manager, when I spoke to him, he said that there's no scarcity of petrol, probably because they always have this commodity at hand. The only problem they have here is the lengthy queue where they have to serve so many people waiting on the line to buy this commodity. But unfortunately, outside here, 5, 6 fuel stations that I passed before getting to the stage do not have this commodity. In fact, the stations are all under lock and key. And even when they do have it, they sell at very, very high prices, between 1,070 to 1,200. to 1,300 naira, as the case may be, while the mega station here sells at the official pump price of 1,065 naira. Well, I have one of the motorists that has been here since 4 a.m., according to him. Mr. Jim Joe, please, can you tell Nigerians what is actually happening here?
Actually, it's a very difficult situation for us out here. Since yesterday, we've been queuing for this well. I came yesterday, I didn't get the well, and I went back home, and I came back home. A lot of our drivers were already on the road waiting for fuel at this moment. Because we have not seen the fuel. There's speculation that the price will be increased. So maybe that's why we have a lot of people coming out, because on a normal day, the only few commercial drivers like us that are normally here. But today is a very, very difficult situation out here. From 4 a.m., I don't even know my feet of getting fuel. Right? I've been queuing legitimately, but the queues have been found that they are serving only government officials and their family and friends for now. So we are still hoping that they will consider us in a short time.
Okay, with this situation, do you think anybody can do anything to help solve this problem of fuel scarcity in Nigeria and in Plateau State as it concerns us? Probably government or individuals or associations as the case may be.
Yes, the government, I think, has a lot to do in this case, because they promised that once the subsidy is removed, we are going to start buying fuel at a good price, going to be available. But the unfortunate thing is that the fuel is expensive and it's not available. We can manage our to get food for our family for the end of the day. But the expensive commodity is not even available. So government do a lot and see how this fuel is made available in many fuel stations so that we don't have to come and be clean here. If possible, the price
All right,
also
choose about.
All right, thank you. You just said it from Mr. Jim Joe. He's one of the people that have been on the queue for him since 4 a.m. today. So actually, that's the situation at the time.
All right, really sad there, but of course, we will catch up with you again later during the broadcast time today. Thank you very much for bringing us live feed from Plateau State, and good morning once again, Chizobanioe. All right. Very, very interesting there. And of course, I'm sure it's the same reality with many people who are across the country this morning, not just in Plateau State. In Lagos State, the queues are building up here and there. In the FCT, of course, we've also heard that the queues are starting to, of course, increase. It's painful, and we've repeatedly said this. This is maybe the, 7th petrol scarcity, 8th maybe or more. In 2024 alone, it almost happens every 3 weeks now. Every month, you expect that there will be some level of petrol scarcity. And many Nigerians are frustrated because there's just no explanation that defends these repeated petrol scarcities while petrol is selling for more than 1,000 naira. There's no explanation. The NNPC, from Dangote, from Ipman, from the Nigerian government generally, there's nothing that would, that would make any sense as to why we still have to deal with this and why the average Nigerian still has to deal with this. But this is where we are.